When I did my April Fool's article about social distancing for umpires, I didn't think MLB would actually consider doing it. But here we are. MLB reportedly, according to sources, the MLB and Players Union officials are considering trying to save the season by playing in May or June starting up, moving everyone to Arizona, playing at all the spring training sites and the minor league sites, with some rule modifications in the wake of what we have going on right now. These modifications include no mound visits, 7-inning doubleheaders to allow for more games, regular use of on-field microphones by players. Remember, this 2020 season was supposed to be the first year that crew chiefs would use it to explain replay review decisions, which brings into the question, what are they going to do about replay reviews? Are they going to have them? Are they going to have someone in New York or bring it all local to Arizona where they can control it? Players sitting in empty stands 6 feet apart, social distancing, and finally the big one, implementing an electronic strike zone to allow the plate umpire to, I want to get the language right, maintain sufficient distance from the catcher and batter. Or is this just an excuse for Manfred to get the strike zone into the game? And before you ask, wait, don't they have to talk to the union about this? They did. Not directly, but they kind of did. Remember what happened in December 2019 when the contract negotiations were going on about the new CBA for the umpires and MLB? And the umpires made a concession. And the concession was, we can start developing an electronic strike zone for potential use during live play at some point. I didn't think the some point would be May 2020 or June 2020, but here we are. There are problems that I see because MLB is saying that, or at least the sources are saying that they would expand the rosters. One positive test for a player wouldn't shut down that league. Heck, they wouldn't even quarantine the team. They'd just take someone from the expanded roster and put them in their place while that sick player goes to quarantine and gets treatment, whatever. But here's the issue, and you know that there are financial enticements in there for MLB to do all this because they're saying, hey, minor leaguers, we're willing to pay you MLB minimum just to be on this expanded roster where you may or may not get used. So there are financial enticements in there into the additional idea of just playing baseball, but I have issues. First issue is they're not all playing in Phoenix. It's not one site. There are 10 spring training facilities throughout that area, in addition to minor league parks, Chase Field, you name it. And the approximate area of coverage is 100 square miles. That's a lot to take care of, a lot of considerations to prevent the spread over 100 square miles. Now, they're saying they'll sequester in hotels and then all of this. That's great, but there's always risk, and that's a problem. Now, the one thing that the sources saying that MLB has considered is the players are fairly low risk on this compared to the managers, coaches, and umpires. So here's a Rudy Gobert question for you. What happens if a low-risk player doesn't show symptoms and transmits and then starts showing symptoms and you have to... That could get really messy. And what if, again, we're talking about low-risk people, someone, as we've talked about NBA, NHL players who have tested positive, what if someone is asymptomatic and nonetheless has gone on a field and played the game and been around other people, despite your social distancing measures? Remember, this is the whole 3 hours survive in the droplets survive in the air type of thing, or whatever they were talking about. There are so many considerations, shared surfaces. Umpires would be wearing gloves, and so would players, I assume. But the pitcher can't do that with a ball because that's against the rules. And there are issues with this. Again, there are issues here. And then finally, did anyone talk to the MLB Umpires Union about this? Would they say okay? Or would they just say, you know what, you don't actually, the players get multi-million dollars and we just get, you don't pay us enough money to put up with this. And even if you did, our membership is, as you yourself, MLB officials, have acknowledged reportedly, is high risk. Because if your whole purpose of implementing an electronic strike zone is to allow the plate umpire to maintain sufficient distance from the catcher and the batter, because the umpire is high risk, yet you're not mandating that the catcher maintain distance from the batter because the catcher is lower risk than the umpire, and the umpire is the only one who has to maintain distance, that means that you know that the umpire is high risk. And if the umpire is high risk, why are you putting them in harm's way? And if you do we have a tort against you, or is this a CBA arbitration clause where you would be either grossly negligent or have a reckless disregard when you require umpires to work in this environment where you know they could get sick? That's a lot to digest, I know, but those were the issues that I saw with this. And more than anything else, I really do think that MLB might be trying to use the situation just to try to get electronic balls and strikes into the game, knowing full well that the system doesn't work, and furthermore, that we went from TrackMan, whose contract expired at the end of 2019, and we're supposed to be getting Hawkeye for 2020. So we're going to use Hawkeye, the first on-field use of Hawkeye, completely untested during live gameplay, is going to be during MLB games. We're not even going to go to the Atlantic League because not even they are playing. They know that it's not a good idea. So that is the end of that whole thought process that I had on it. I'm curious what you think. And my personal opinion is I don't think this is realistic. I don't think it's going to happen. But you never know. I think it's just an excuse to try to possibly get this electronic strike zone in there, but I don't think it's going to happen at the end of the day. I'll gladly eat the words if I'm wrong, but at the same time, I'm going to continue blowing the whistle on how dangerous I think this is. Irresponsible, too. We'll see you on the site, closecallsports.com. You can visit us on Facebook and Twitter at Umpire Ejections. See you then. Stay safe.